Welcome back to the Stretch to Florida podcast. I'm Matt, and I'm here with Venush. And the start of basketball, the new NBA season is just a couple of weeks away, and that means it's almost time to start fantasy drafts. Because, while fantasy basketball is not as big as fantasy football, maybe not even fantasy baseball, it's probably my favorite fantasy to play. Because I think it's the one that requires the most actual basketball knowledge and actually knowing a lot about basketball, depending on how many categories you play. If you play like
Yeah.
5 categories, you don't really need to know anything. So today we're just gonna kind of break down some sleepers that we think everyone should have their eye on in the draft. Some guys maybe whose stock is a little bit lower this year. Just players to watch out for, really, and trends to watch out for this year in fantasy. Before we get into that, there's obviously a bunch of news from this past week. The biggest, obviously, being Russell Westbrook traded for John Wall. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I can't believe people are saying this is a neutral move or this is a move that's not gonna change a lot. Like this easily puts the Wizards in playoff contention. Kind of makes them a playoff lock in my opinion. And you, Houston's just taking a huge risk. They don't know. They have their second best player is now someone who hasn't played in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this Wall contract was going to be so bad that you're going to have to attach a first round pick just to get rid of it. But now that you only attach a first round pick and you get back an all NBA level player, like
Yeah.
this is a huge, like easy W for the Washington Wizards. And I like that team. I like that team with Westbrook, Beal, Rui Hachimura, Denny Avija, Days Bertans, and Thomas Bryant and Mo Wagner.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a solid playoff team in the East.
Yeah, that this is a huge W for the Wizards. So they had to attach a first round pick, but it is such a heavily protected pick
Yeah,
that I mean it could end up just being 2 second round picks in 28 or something like that.
yeah,
It's so heavily protected. This is such a huge W. Like you said, the Rockets obviously did this because James Harden wanted it, I guess.
yeah,
He said he'd rather play with John Wall than Russell Westbrook. Who like that's literally the only reason I can think of why they would do it.
yeah.
And I don't know, what are you expecting from John Wall? I think this is probably one of the hardest seasons to predict from a player because it's been 2 years that he hasn't played.
Yeah.
He's coming off multiple injuries, the worst being the Achilles, and I honestly just have no idea what to expect from him.
Yeah, I'm expecting him still to get that assist because he's still a good, smart basketball player. Like, I know people just say he relies on his athleticism. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's entirely the
No.
case. I do think he has a good read for the game. I think his jump shot will be improved. I think if you're going to miss 2 years in of the NBA, you're going to see the changes. You're going to see how dominant Steph Curry has become. And you're going to work on your jump shot because that's the only things that you can work on, just his upper half of his shooting range, just like sit and shoot. Gordon Hayward was a good example of someone
Mm-hmm.
who said he missed the whole year. That's all he did. So I do expect him to have a better jump shot. I expect him to be league average. So in my opinion, I'm going to throw out a player comparison. I think he's just going to be Ricky Rubio, which isn't the greatest, isn't the worst. He's still a good NBA player, still a
Yeah.
starter, but it's Ricky Rubio at 41 million for a year, not 17.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's why I don't like the contract. But he's gonna be a positive contributor to this team, just not an all-star.
Yeah. I mean, how much do you think this hurts the Rockets in the playoff picture though? Because it's probably just going to be more touches and more shots for Harden that we're just going to Westbrook, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's probably
assuming Harden is still there, we'll get into that in a minute. But I don't really see how this, because I don't think, like, Westbrook was never the greatest defender at the point guard position. I don't know. I just think this is going to be more Harden. Harden's usage rate is going to be higher than it was last year, and they're going to be pretty much the same. I really think
yeah. The thing is that we don't know his coach too. We don't know how
that's
like
true.
Scott Skiles is gonna incorporate a system where he's gonna be moving more off ball. But yeah, if you have a 35-point scorer, you're gonna win games.
Yeah.
You're gonna make the playoffs. James Harden's too good to miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
Simply put. So yeah, you're still gonna make the playoffs. You're still gonna be a decent team, and they still have solid pieces. Like they still have
Yeah.
Christian Wood, PJ
Christian Wood.
Tucker,
Yeah.
Daniel House, Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
They have what's remaining of Boogie Cousins, even if
Yeah.
that's like 50% of Boogie,
Mm-hmm.
still a decent NBA player.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're definitely gonna make the playoffs. But are they gonna be contenders? Are they gonna be dark horses like we were talking about them last year? We're like, oh man, if they shoot threes this well, if Westbrook's like actually able to shoot good in a series, they could maybe make the finals.
Yeah.
No, I think all that talk is done. I think we're just gonna be talking about them as like, hey, this is a good James Harden team, but you
Mm-hmm.
should beat them. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. I mean, if John Wall comes out and is like actually like a really good shooter, maybe that could
Yeah,
look different. But if he's just league average, like is probably realistic. Yeah, they're just gonna be a fun team, James Harden team. They're just gonna probably not make it past the first or second round, and that's gonna be it really. Okay, so staying on the Rockets. Speaking of James Harden, he finally showed up to practice today, but he
yeah,
had been a no-show for since the start of training camp.
yeah.
And now apparently he has made it clear not that he wants a trade, but that he would be open to a trade to namely the Sixers or other contenders, whatever that means. Do you think this is going to happen? Does he start the year on Houston,
Yeah,
or does he
yeah.
get moved?
I think he's gonna play out this whole season on Houston. Probably make the playoffs as like a 6 to 8 seed, and then probably could bounce in the first round and then get traded. I
Yeah.
think, I think like the Rockets know like if we just hold this out one more year, we know who's gonna throw huge contracts, who's gonna throw huge deals at us. Because for example, I'll list out our team, the Raptors. If we get a Giannis, hey, you could have Siakam at 4 picks,
Yeah.
but we need to get Giannis. We need to get him signed first, or we need to get confirmation before we
Mm-hmm.
make that trade. So like you're just waiting it out, right? And if the Sixers are bad next year too and get bounced in the first round, hey, you got Ben Simmons,
Mm-hmm.
and those are two All NBA players who aren't available right now. Those are two situations which you're not going to get those players right now. Jamal Murray, how the Nuggets look. Maybe you could put James Harden with Jokic. Like that's three situations where you get good young player with a lot of picks as well, which aren't available right now because you cannot get Jamal Murray right now. You can't get Ben Simmons right now. You can't get Siakam right now. And the player that you can get, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Torian Prince, guess what? They're going to be available next offseason too. So it's not like you're losing anything. So yeah, there's no chance he gets traded until next offseason.
Yeah, the Rockets have all the leverage here. He has not formally or officially asked for a trade, and even if he does, honestly, like I agree, just hang on for a year.
Yeah,
And yeah, just wait for these guys to become available. Okay, so
yeah.
one more thing before we get into fantasy. Kyrie is already being Kyrie, and looks like the Nets season's already off to like not the ideal start they wanted. He's not showing up to media day. He didn't show up to media day, hasn't been made a media appearance yet, and he said he doesn't intend to, because he wants to just let his play do the talking. It doesn't really surprise me, but I don't think this is the way to start the year off with a new head coach.
Mhm.
To This is just not a good start for team chemistry, which, as we know, has always been an issue with him.
I actually disagree with you that I think it's
Really?
okay for team chemistry because he's not like he's saying he's not going to talk to his teammates. It's
Yeah.
just, it's okay for team chemistry. It's okay from the team aspect. He's just going to get fined. Like what Sean Lynch said, I'm only here not to get fined.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just gonna get fined over and over again. And he's gonna have a Marshawn Lynch, Allen Iverson type moment where he just shows up and says very generic answers to get going. And man, like if you really want your game just to be talking, you should have went with that approach first. Just show up, give the Tim Duncan responses. Yeah, my team played well, my team did that, my team.
Yeah.
And you won't be in news and we wouldn't be talking about him. But he had to say it in a manner where we'll still be talking about him. He's a master of marketing. Kyrie Irving has played like 30 games the last 3 years, and we always keep talking about him.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe it doesn't really have any effect on chemistry. Maybe this is just,
Marketing.
yeah, honestly, could be. All right. So enough with that. I think let's get into fantasy. So we're gonna basically just go over sleeper players. We'll do that first, and then we have maybe some busts
Yeah.
that we can talk about. Before we get into specific players, I just want to kind of talk about the top 10. Like, is LeBron out of the top 10 this year?
Uh, I would pick him at 10, 9,
Yeah.
10. I'd still take a chance on him. He doesn't like resting. But he always prefaced it by saying, I like playing in front of fans.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
come for the fans.
Yeah.
I play for the fans. That's why I don't rest. Guess what? There's not going to be fans. So he's all right sitting out those non-televised games, and the Lakers aren't going to get in trouble sitting out those non-televised games. So he's like a Kawhi Leonard. You take him in the top 10,
Yeah.
they're going to be amazing for you when they play, but they're going to rest a lot. He's just not the top 1 to 3 guy anymore that he was. He's just like a Kawhi Leonard, 8 to 13 ish.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, and it's nothing to do with age. It's not
Yeah,
that LeBron's washed. It's literally just rest. If he played every game, he'd be a top 5 pick.
easy.
Yeah, easy. How about Trey Young, Jason Tatum, and Devin Booker? How close are these guys to the top 10?
Trey Young's in the top 10.
Yeah,
So like I don't even know what you're talking about. How close?
I mean, because like, so would you take Trey Young over like a Jokic?
uh, I think it's easier to build a team around Trey Young because he's gonna get you the threes, which a lot of NBA players get.
Yeah.
A player like Jokic who gets like assists and rebounds is such a weird combination. Like unless you're in a small league where you could guarantee you get a Ben Simmons as well. In a bigger league, it's easier to build around a Trey Young than a Jokic. So Trey Young will sneak into the top 10. Probably not ahead of Jokic, but pretty close to him. Jason Tatum, I feel, will be pretty high, like pretty close to the top 10, probably 11, 12, just because Kemba Walker's injured. Marcus Smart's not that high volume. Tristan Thompson's not high volume. Gordon Hayward's gone.
Yeah.
So I see Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown kind of flying up in the ADP and average draft positions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see both those players flying up. And you said Jimmy Butler as the third
Devin
one?
Booker. Devin
Oh,
Booker.
Devin Booker. I want to take him. I don't think he's close to top 10.
Really? Eh? I guess because he's
He
just
doesn't
points.
do
He's not getting you assists, not getting you rebounds. Really.
points, threes.
Yeah.
What else does he give you?
Yeah.
Gets you a good amount of assists, 6, like average around.
Yeah.
But he's not a fantasy dual rowler like Trey Young and Jason Tatum. He will
Yeah.
be top 20 though.
Yeah. 100% top 20. For
Yeah,
Tatum, I think, like you said, Kemba's missing the start of the season. Hopefully not that long. They're saying maybe January, which is like only a month.
yeah,
Hayward's gone. Obviously, that's just more shots for Tatum.
yeah.
But also, I think just game wise, I think like he's gonna make a huge jump this year. I really do. I think this year for Tatum is kind of gonna be like Jokic's season 2 years ago. Like he's not gonna be an MVP candidate, but he's gonna be like people are gonna think of him as like maybe a player you can win a championship with like next
Yeah,
year, maybe a guy
yeah,
who can win an MVP like next year.
yeah,
And I think after the season he's gonna be in the MVP conversation like kind of every year, just like Jokic is right now.
yeah. I'm super high on him as a player. The thing with fantasy is, I think his rebounds are going to take a hit.
Mm,
Like I know it's going to be good at the start of the season because Tristan Thompson has that hamstring issue and he's going to miss out. But when Tristan Thompson comes back, he's going to be hunting those rebounds, and that's all he's going to be doing. And I just wonder if his 7 rebound average is going to take a dip to 5 with Tristan Thompson. And if that does take a dip, we're talking about someone who gets like what 25 points, three threes, and then he just does like 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He won't be that great of a fantasy player. So his rebounds are a pretty big question. Not a big enough question where I wouldn't take him in the top 10,
mm-hmm.
but when it's compared to people like LeBron, I might take LeBron over him still just because I know LeBron's going to at least get those stats day in, day out.
Yeah.
It's just, is he going to play?
Now you said 25 points. I'm thinking more like 27, 28 this year. Like I don't know, I'm really high on him because he absolutely destroyed teams in the playoffs, and when he's going up against just garbage opponents who don't have a hope of guarding him, like he looks unguardable. He's gonna look unguardable, I think, a lot of nights, and he's just
I
gonna be able to
think,
get whatever he wants. And especially with Hayward being gone, with Kemba missing time, and even when Kemba comes back, I think it's very obvious that Jason Tatum is the number one on that team. It was 1A, 1B, maybe most of the regular season last year. It's a clear 1-2 now, I think. And
see,
I think he's just going to get whatever he wants.
yeah, I expected him to have a 2 point increase, 23 to 25.
Mm.
My big point increase on the Celtics is coming from Jaylen Brown, in my opinion. He averaged 20 last season. I think he's a 24-point scorer, 23-point scorer.
Wow.
So I think he could take that jump. And I think he's going to, because you have to remember in the playoffs, he was guarding Siakam, he was guarding the top dogs. So was Marcus Smart. I'm not going to try to discourage Marcus Smart's defensive role,
Mm-hmm.
but Jaylen Brown was doing a big part too. Against those bad teams, he doesn't have to have that defensive pressure anymore. He's going to be going off. And I think Jason Tatum is recognized as the guy, so he's going to get doubled more and stuff,
Okay.
leading for Jaylen Brown to get those easy 2 points and easy buckets.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, one more. I'll let you go in 1 sec, but I just wanted to ask you, KD. What's KD's situation this year? How high is he going?
He's going top 10.
Really?
Like, I think he's
Are
going,
you going to take that risk, or do you think someone else is going to do it?
well, it depends where we get a pick, but
Yeah.
him, Curry, LeBron, I think they're all going to be like right after each other, and Kawhi Leonard, because
Mm-hmm.
like with LeBron and Kawhi, you have the load management risk, and then with Curry and KD, you got the injury risk.
Mm-hmm.
If those guys play up to their potential at the 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 spot you're picking them, you're gonna have the best team in the league if they play up to their full max potential. So I think those people 8 to 12 are just. I think four of those
Mm-hmm.
people, or yeah, four of those people are gonna take those risks.
Okay. And even if it's like 80% KD, 75% KD, I don't really see a situation where he averages under 25. I just don't.
Yeah,
Maybe the efficiency won't be good. Honestly, like the thing that's
is it? Like I think
like
KD is
it's
still
probably
gonna
going
have
to be fine.
amazing.
Like I don't know if this is going to affect his shooting as
Yeah,
much. Like basketball wise, his defense might be like way worse than it used to be,
yeah,
but that doesn't matter for fantasy, right?
yeah,
So not really. Uh
yeah.
yeah, so maybe 8 to 12. I don't know if I'm taking the risk. Like if I had to pick between like him and Rudy Gobert or something, I might just
No
take the safe bet.
chance.
I don't know.
No
Like
chance.
I'm kind of scared.
There's no chance you're picking Rudy Gobert over Kevin Durant as your first round pick. We play in a 14-man league, 9 cats, just for people to know. And Rudy Gobert has never been picked in the first round. I've had him the last 2 years as second round pick
Yeah.
and a pretty late second round pick too, like mid to late second round pick. So yeah, there's no way Kevin Durant falls. If you had the 16th pick, which is our league's gonna be a 16-man league, and you see Kevin Durant there, you're instantly taking him. Like instantly.
I might
I'll
take
take him. I'll take him. If I have the
yeah,
last pick in the first round and I see Kevin Durant, it's a 0 second pick. I'm instantly
really.
taking him. Yeah.
I might take him not because like mostly just because I'm interested to like see what he does
Yeah.
more than like actually thinking he's gonna help my fantasy team. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah, no, I'll still take him, man. I can't see like he's gonna score. He's too tall. Like how nice his shot
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
how tall he is. I just
Yeah.
see him still being a good basketball player, like in terms of points and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just the question I have for him is his switchability and stuff on the defensive end,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
is he gonna
That's
be
gonna take a
that?
hit.
Yeah, like so, like I don't think he's gonna be the best player in the NBA or like in conversation with LeBron anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But fantasy wise, he's still gonna be a killer because he's just gonna rise up and shoot over everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the free throw percentage isn't going anywhere.
Yeah,
The like if you don't play with 3 point percentage, if you're just like threes, he's gonna hit threes.
yeah,
And like you said, his efficiency probably isn't gonna be much worse than it was before. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we'll see. Okay, so I went on enough about that. Who do you got?
Okay, my biggest bust is Hassan Whiteside,
Okay.
and I know it's a big difference from the players we were talking about before, but Hassan Whiteside was like a top like 20 fantasy player last season. He was killing it, and now that he signed a minimum and he's behind Holmes,
Yeah.
like, do you see him getting minutes to kill, like, to average 15.5,
No.
13.5, and 2.9 blocks? Like,
Yeah, no, I
there's
don't
no
see
way
that.
he's getting that. So yeah, and I still think he's gonna get selected high because if you need rebounds and blocks, you might just take a chance on Hassan Whiteside and hope
Mm-hmm.
that Luke Walton's a horrible coach and plays him a lot of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's gonna kill some teams. And another guy who I have really similar to him is Andre Drummond too. Like, what are the Cavs gonna do? Are they gonna play him? Because he was the ninth pick last year in our draft, and he was always a late first or early second round guy. And like, is he just gonna get the minutes? Because we know what he'll do. He averaged 17.7, 15.2, almost 2 steals and almost 2 blocks. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think though? Andre Drummond's gonna be like this year?
I mean, obviously all comes down to whether or not Kevin Love is going to play center because that's the rumor.
Yeah,
Uh, he's bulking up apparently. I don't know. I think as long as he's on the roster, they're going to be actively looking for trades for him all season. So wouldn't they want to play him as many minutes as they can?
but the question is, players that we're really high on, Larry
Yeah,
Nance Jr.,
yeah,
are you just gonna give him the run and be like, man, Andre Drummond, we
yeah.
like
We're not.
you, but
We're getting
like we're
like a
just
late
gonna,
first for you, like
yeah,
best case scenario. So just
or yeah, just like do what you do in like
yeah.
20 minutes, show that you're a valuable player.
Mm,
Maybe the Hornets will take a second for you or whatever, like
yeah,
they'll take a flyer on
yeah,
you, and then let's just play Larry Nance and Kevin Love, and let's just open up the floor for Isaac Okoro and our
yeah.
guards. Like, is that what they're gonna do? Or are they gonna be like, no, let's try to win games. Let's like Andre Drummond. Let's give him post touches and stuff. Like, I hope that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if that happens in fantasy, he's gonna be a beast. He's gonna be a top 10 guy.
Yeah, he honestly would be. And like now that I think about it, you're kind of right. Like, would Andre Drummond playing 20 minutes versus 35 minutes really affect his trade value that much? Like at this
Yeah,
point in his career, we know what he can do,
yeah,
and people are gonna know that his production is literally just because he's not playing as much. So
yeah,
yeah, you could be right. He could be one of the biggest busts this year in fantasy.
yeah.
Yeah, one of my
And,
biggest busts. Or sorry, no, you go ahead.
oh no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, one of my biggest busts. Not he's not gonna be a bust, but I don't know. I would probably stay away from John Collins this year. I don't know how I feel about his fantasy
What?
this year. Like I don't know.
Oh, I disagree.
I'm just wondering how if Gallo plays really well. I know he's coming off the bench, but if Gallo plays really well, could he eventually take over at that 4? Is John Collins going to be able to close games at the 5? Is he not going to be able to? I think just they have so many wings and so many bigs, so many guys who can play the 4, play the 5 on that team
Yeah,
that I don't think he's going to have nearly as much run and as much of a green light as he's had in recent years. And I think we've talked about this a little bit before that he's a guy who like maybe could be traded at some point this year. We talked about OKC as a possible destination.
yeah,
Uh, so maybe if he gets traded, his fantasy outlook probably looks better on a team like that. But
yeah,
until then, with this kind of like log jam of players that they have, I think his minutes are probably going to go down a bit, and I think his shots are probably going to go down too.
yeah. But I just think he's too good of a shooter. That like where he's gonna like really regress. Like, can you really see him averaging less than 20 and 10? Like, I
Yeah, I
cannot
can.
see
I think
him.
I can.
I
I really,
cannot see that.
I really think I can because I think Gallo's going to play a lot. I think obviously Capella is going to play a lot. I think they're going to want to play Kongwu. I think DeAndre Hunter's going to
Okongwu's
play a lot
injured. Okongwu's injured for the first 2 months,
for the
I
okay
think.
for the first couple of months. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean his minutes are obviously going to go down
yeah,
from last year, and I'm not saying he's going to be a complete bust. Like I would still take him, but
yeah.
I just wouldn't take him as high as I think some people are saying he should go.
I think he's a little overvalued. I think he's going in like the 20s. I think he would be.
That high though,
I
really?
think he's more of a 30s type of guy. I think his rebounds will go down, but I don't think his points are going down. I think the players that are going to get affected are Gallo and Capella, because
Hmm.
I think I like. No offense to the Hawks, they're not winning a championship, and I'm not going to play the 30-year-old over the 20-year-old or the 22-year-old who fits the same timeline with my superstar. Like at the end of the day, like I'm just gonna roll out Collins so they could get more time together. And I don't want to upset Collins too. It's a contract year. You're trying to get him for under the max. So you want him to be like, hey man, I could win a
Hmm.
championship here. Like this is a dynasty I could build. And they're trying to pitch him under the max because if they just offered him the max, he would have signed by now. Other teams are gonna offer them the max. Like the Raptors,
Yeah.
if they miss out on all the superstar free agents, I could see him offering Collins a max. So like you don't want to upset him. He's the right age as your superstar. He's gonna get the minutes. The only thing I can see going down for him is the rebounds.
Hmm.
But even then, what is Capella's health? He's such a question. He was another one on
That's
my
true.
bus. Like
Really,
I think
Capella?
he could be a
Yeah.
bust. Yeah, because we haven't seen him play for so long.
Yeah.
Like
That's fair.
same
That's
with
fair.
John Wall, right?
That's fair.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Capella's safe. He's getting a little overvalued, but I still would take him late second round.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair. I see that. Uh, do you have more busts or do you want to
Yeah, I
what
have
other
one
guys
more
you want to
bus. The
Okay.
guy that we talked about that we traded. So he started on my team and ended up on your team.
Yeah.
Chris Paul,
I have him too. Yeah.
yeah, he is so injury prone every single year besides last year that when we made the trade, everyone was saying I won because Chris Paul was gonna get hurt. Everyone's saying you got finessed, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, Chris Paul played a whole full season. You finished a higher seed than me, and Chris
Mm-hmm.
Paul kind of was your MVP that season, arguably your best player.
He was arguably my best player.
Yeah,
And you're right, like injury prone, but I think also just like his impact on like he's gonna impact a lot of winning on that team, obviously. But like we've said before, his numbers are gonna go down. Like he's gonna average like what 16 maybe.
yeah,
Like he's gonna be one of the best players, if not the best player on that team on the Suns. But I mean, Devin Booker is gonna be the guy closing games. He's I think DeAndre Ayton is a guy who's really gonna benefit from Chris Paul being there. I think he's gonna get a lot of like feeds and a lot of being set up by Chris Paul a lot, I think. But I think Chris Paul's own production is probably not going to be as high as it was, especially last year on OKC.
yeah. I can see Chris Paul's assist going back up though,
Yeah, the assists. Yeah, yeah.
because he only last year was an anomaly where he only averaged 6.7 assists,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the reason why I traded him. I was like,
Yeah,
whoa, Chris Paul's regressing huge. Like
yeah.
2 3 weeks into the season, I was like, oh my god, he's only averaging 6 assists. Like, what's happening? I can see that shooting back up to 8 because
Yeah, so can I.
I think Devin Booker knows how to play off ball more than a Shea or a Dennis Schroeder,
Yeah.
who kind of did take the ball out of Chris Paul's hands. So I still think as long as he's out there, he's going to be a good player. He's going to be worth his
Mm-hmm.
draft position. I just don't think he's going to be out there. Sadly, I think he's going to get injured. So
Yeah,
yeah, he'd be a player that I would avoid the first 3 rounds. But
me
if
too.
he's there fourth round, I'm snagging him out.
Yeah, no, 100% me too. And
Yeah.
okay, so I got one more bust and one kind of question mark. Okay, so I this is the year Kyle Lowry is not going to be an all-star. Kyle Lowry is not an all-star this year,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, he's turning 35 in March. He's 34 years old right now, obviously. I'm not saying he's going to suck. I'm not saying he's going to be one of the best point guards in the East, but I'm staying away from him in fantasy. I think the injuries. I don't want to say he's going to
Yeah.
get injured, but I mean he's getting up there in age. Like I said, I just don't see him sustaining the production from the last couple of years into this season
I don't think he's going to be as good as last year, but I think he can have the same season he had when Kawhi was
with
there.
the Kawhi. Yeah.
Yeah, so like less points, less assists, less
Mm-hmm.
minutes, stuff like that. But I don't see him having last year's stats because you usually don't see players having a breakout year when they're 34, which Kyle Lowry kind of had
Yeah.
from
It was
33 to
the
34.
Raptors needed it,
Yeah,
and he stepped up. Yeah.
yeah,
Also, like I think he's in the final year of his contract.
yeah,
They gave him that 1 year extension for like 34 million or something.
yeah, huge.
And obviously we all know who they want in summer free agency next season.
Yeah,
Uh, and I think they're gonna play. I think Fred VanVleet is gonna get some run as like the primary point guard,
point
starting
guard.
point guard. So
Yeah,
if they can see what they have, like I don't know if I'm sold on Fred as the starting point guard of the future, but we're gonna have to find that out this year. So that's another reason why I would stay away from Kyle.
yeah, uh, yeah. I think he's just gonna regress a little bit. I don't think he's regressed a lot, but he's just like Chris Paul.
Yeah,
When you're 35 years old,
yeah,
when you're a point guard who takes the most charges in the leagues at six
yeah,
foot, like you might get injured, and that's kind of something you want to stay away from.
yeah,
But if he's another player, like you see him in the late fourth round, you might have to
yeah.
pick him
Late
up.
fourth round. Yeah,
Yeah. And when we're saying fourth round, third round, we're a 16-man league. So that's around like the 60th spot for some people, which might be the sixth round in like a 10-man league. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, just remember that we're doing a 16-man league. So that's our numbers.
Yeah.
A player that I think is being disrespected is Russell Westbrook.
Okay.
His projected rank is 74th.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening there? Like, did people not see how good he was in the regular season? He averaged 27, 8, and 7 with 1.6 steals. Yes, he has high turnovers, but if you have a superstar player in the first round, let's say a James Harden, you're gonna have high turnovers no matter what. So
Yeah.
just who cares about that stat? And he's like an incredible player. So I think he's being heavily disrespected, and I
That is
think he's
really disrespectful.
yeah,
Yeah, and
74.
yeah, no, that's ridiculous. There's no way. Okay,
Yeah,
but so one question mark I had. What about Bradley Beal? Like Bradley Beal
Oh
was
yeah,
one of the best fantasy players last year. It was just him just doing his thing. Now that he has Russell Westbrook, like obviously he's going to take a hit, but how much of a hit do you think?
I think he's gonna be better.
Really?
I think everything for Bradley Beal is gonna go up except for points. And I think points is just gonna go down to 26.
Yeah.
But I think the efficiency is just gonna be such a huge like increase that it's not gonna affect him that much. He's kind of the opposite of Russell Westbrook,
Mm-hmm.
where Russell Westbrook the efficiency sucks, the turnover sucks, so you're gonna kind of tank those categories. For Bradley Beal, those categories are gonna be so well. Like he's gonna have like minimal turnovers. He's gonna have great efficiency. He's gonna have good points, good threes. And if you could get him second round to complement a KD or a Curry,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, that could be a championship level
Yeah.
duo.
And I mean, Paul George had his best season ever playing with Russell Westbrook.
Yeah,
And offensively, this could be like literally the same season. Obviously, he's not the defender Paul George is, but he could have the
yeah,
same season kind of that, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
we moving on to breakout players.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go breakout
Yeah.
players.
So I say this every single year. This is the year hopefully I am right.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Gordon will have a breakout season. And my reasoning for that is he will finally play the power forward spot. At least I hope he does, because Jonathan Isaac is expected to miss the whole season. So playing the power forward spot, playing his more comfortable spot, playing as a big, playing against slower footed bigs, I think he's going to get more points. I think he's going to get more defensive stats like steals and blocks. I think he's going to get more rebounds. And I think fantasy wise, he's just going to take such a huge leap.
I hope so. We say that every year. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
you've traded him to me at some point, or it seems like you always have him in fantasy. You're always betting
yeah,
on him having that breakout year.
yeah,
And like you said, I think this has to be the year. Like, obviously, Vucevic is still there, but how long is he going to be there for?
yeah.
We don't know. Jonathan Isaac's missing the whole year. And then just combined with the natural progression, naturally getting better, him playing the four finally.
Hmm.
If he's gonna have a breakout year, I think this is gonna be it. So I think he's a good pick. I definitely agree.
Yeah, yeah. I did have him last year, and I did trade him. I don't think I traded him to you. I think
Maybe it wasn't me.
I traded him to Aaron. With I remember I packaged him with someone else for Tobias Harris.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, I forgot about that.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so like I already mentioned him before, but like I said, just really quick, DeAndre Ayton, I think is gonna have a really big season. He averaged 18 and 11 and a half last year. But if you buy the bubble performance that he had, if you buy that's real, and then combined with him playing with Chris Paul, I think we could see like 22, maybe 22 and 11 from him this year. Is
yeah.
that
He's
unrealistic?
22 will be a push, but he could definitely get 20 and 11.
Yeah.
And that puts him on the same thing as John Collins, except with more blocks
Mm-hmm.
without the threes. So yeah, he's definitely could be pushing for that early second round pick.
Yeah. Another guy, I already mentioned in I think it was last episode, Colin Sexton gonna have a huge year. I think he averaged 21
Yeah,
points last year on 38% from three. Only took like 4.5 attempts a game. I think he's gonna go up to 24 at least this year.
yeah,
And if he's just more aggressive with his shot, I think he's gonna be a steal in fantasy.
yeah, yeah. He's expected to do pretty well.
Yeah.
He wasn't even drafted in our league,
Yeah.
and someone was able to just pick him off the waiver, and he averaged 20 points this game. So yeah, he was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Someone who I have as someone that's going to improve a lot is Jakob Patel
Mm.
Oporto. I just think he's going to get a lot of blocks. He averaged 1.4 last season. I think you had him, or
Yeah.
yeah, I think you had him.
Maybe. Seems like a player I would draft. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just going to get blocks. And if you're a specialist that needs blocks, you're always going to have a roster spot on
But how
someone's
much is he
roster.
like? Is he gonna start? Are
Yeah,
they?
I think
You think
so.
so? You think
Yeah.
Aldridge at the four?
Oh, yeah, because DeMar DeRozan was playing the four pretty well in the bubble, so
Right.
might be Aldridge five, DeMar four. But even then, I still think Jakob's gonna have enough opportunities to get 2 blocks a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think,
I mean, they just
yeah,
signed him to a pretty decently sized contract, so it wouldn't
yeah,
really make sense not to play him. So yeah.
yeah,
Okay, and then I'm kind of just stealing stuff from last episode, but the three Canadians are gonna have huge years, and they're gonna have huge fantasy years. Shea is probably the biggest one. He's gonna have
yeah,
the biggest point increase. He
yeah,
is the starting lineup. The projected starting five for OKC right now is Shea, Hamidou Diallo, Luguentz Dort, Baisley, and Al Horford.
yeah. Shea's averaging 40.
He's literally averaging 40 points.
Yeah,
So he takes Shea. I don't know what round, but
I would take
like
him like late second, late
second round.
second.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And then Andrew Wiggins is the second option on the Warriors, right?
with Steph Curry.
With
That's
Steph
amazing.
Curry. The shot selection is going to be a lot better. He's not going to have as much ball handling duties.
Yeah,
Uh, the quality of shots he's going to be taking is going to be way better,
amazing. Yeah,
and he's just going to be a steal. I really that
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think
And
he'll
then
be a steal.
yeah, and then Jamal Murray, the other last big Canadian. Could he make the jump to All NBA this year? Possibly. Like All
I think
Star, I
so.
think is a lock. All NBA is possible.
Yeah,
And if the playmaking that we saw in the playoffs is real,
assists.
the assists, he could be a huge fantasy player this year. Second round, he's a second round lock, right?
Yeah, second round lock. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. You said 3 Canadians. I think it's gonna be 5 Canadians that make the big
Chris
jump in
Boucher,
fantasy. You mentioned 3. I'm saying Lou Dart and Chris
Lou
Boucher
Dort.
are gonna have pretty big
Okay.
fantasy seasons. Chris Boucher is gonna get over 25 minutes a game, presumably, and he's gonna be a block machine. He's gonna get the 3 pointers up. He's gonna get the points. He's gonna get the rebounds. He averaged 1 block last season, and he played like 6 minutes a game. So
Yeah,
he could get up to 2 blocks. He could get 1 steal, maybe. He could just be that Robert Covington-esque player
yeah,
who kind of gets you stats all across with good
yeah,
efficiency and low turnovers. And that'll make him a mid-round guy. And he's going to be available late round. So
yeah.
if you can
Oh,
snag
for
him up,
sure.
that's going to be a steal. And Lou Dart's going to get picked in the mid round, and he deserves to get picked in the mid round because he's going to average 14. He's going to
He's
have the
gonna have to
defensive
average
stats.
14. If he
Yeah,
doesn't average 14, they're losing by like 40 every
35.
night. Yeah,
Yeah. So he's just going to have so much opportunity shoved down his throat. Like, even if he doesn't want to shoot the ball, he has to. So, like, he has to score. Like, he has to be the second scorer.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
For
both those guys,
for
I
Chris
see them
Boucher,
stepping up.
I'm kind of embarrassed I didn't know this because like I feel like I'm one of the biggest like Chris Boucher overhypers in the world.
Yeah.
But did you know that in games that he played 20 or more minutes last year, he averaged like 17 and a half points? I had
Oh,
no
I didn't know it
idea.
was that
He
high.
literally averaged like 17 and a half points.
Wow.
So I mean, if that obviously he was playing a lot of garbage time
Garbage
and he
time.
was
Yeah.
playing like against third stringers in games that were either won by 40 or lost by 40. So take that for with a grain of salt. But I mean, we know what he can do. We know he's gonna get blocks. We know he might he might go for 2 for 11 from the 3 point line, but if you're playing in a league that doesn't have 3 point percentage,
Your
just threes,
percentage.
he's gonna hit threes, right?
Yeah.
And he's gonna get at least 12 points a game, I think, like at least.
Yeah.
12 to 13 points a game. Yeah, so I think he's definitely a really solid fantasy pick. And he can play, yeah, and he's a center slash power forward. He's probably going to play more power forward this year
Yeah.
than center. Yeah, and Dort, I mean, I don't know how many threes he's going to hit because I
Yeah.
think
I
I've
don't
seen
know.
him hit like 2 threes in my life, but he's going to average 14 points somehow. So he might be a
Yeah.
good pick too.
Yeah. And we threw out a lot of Canadians. I just want to throw out one more.
Okay,
Dylan
let's hear it.
Brooks.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He definitely is already proven that he's a solid player. He
Yeah.
got 2 threes a game, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, almost 1 steal. And if Jaren Jackson Jr. has to miss extended time, last shots kind of have to go. I know John Morant's going to take a huge leap, like expected,
Mm-hmm.
but someone else has to also
Yeah,
shoot the ball more. So it
yeah,
might be Dylan Brooks that gets that shots, and you could
yeah,
see maybe him averaging 18 to 20.
yeah.
And
So
that'd be,
6 Canadians gonna have really big fantasy years this year.
yeah, which would be crazy.
Yeah. Another guy who I think is gonna have a really good year. This might not be that much of a hot take, but Christian Wood, I think he's gonna be really good
Yeah.
this year. I don't know, like that he said this before the John Wall thing. He said this when Russ Westbrook was still a member of the Rockets. He said, "I want to be the second option to James Harden." I don't know if he's gonna be
Yeah.
the second option, but he averaged 13 and 6 last year in only 21 minutes a game, 38%, almost 39% from three.
Yeah.
He's obviously going to play more than 21 minutes a game this year,
Yeah.
and I think he could average definitely better than that, like what 16, maybe 17. I can
Yeah.
definitely see that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely going to be a decent player. And he's just going to shoot the ball a lot
yeah,
because even though the Rockets change coach, we know they're going to play 5 out. We know they're
yeah,
going to just say, they're going to be at least reminiscence of the last coach's 7 seconds offense. They're going to be letting the 3 fly. And I think Chris Boucher, just with the green light, he's just going to be averaging a lot. The
Christian
question
Wood.
is, Oh yeah, Christian Wood. I think the question is Boogie Cousins starting
Yeah,
alongside him?
that's the question. Yeah.
Because I hate him at the four.
Oh my
Christian Wood
God.
at the
Yeah.
four.
No. He needs
I'm
to
not
play the
taking
five.
him. Yeah,
100%. I think Boogie definitely is. I don't think you can start Boogie to start the season.
I hope so. I hope so.
I don't think you can.
Yeah,
I don't think you can start two players coming off Achilles injuries who
acute
haven't played in
injuries.
2 years, two former Kentucky superstars. I don't know if
Yeah,
you can do that.
maybe the Houston Rockets are just living in 2015.
Maybe.
A player I
Do you,
want to shout
yeah.
out is Otto Porter Jr.
Okay.
because he's everything that Robert Covington is, but he'll get picked in like the eighth round. And I think he's just if he's healthy, man. Like I know he's not the greatest NBA player, but
Hmm.
fantasy wise, he's just gonna get you
He's a really
everything.
solid fantasy player. Yeah.
Yeah, he's so solid, and I think if you see him available and you have specialists on your team already selected, like you're going
Hmm.
for your stats, threes, whatever, I
Hmm.
think you pick someone up like Otto Porter Jr. and he's gonna have a high trade value because every team could use him, and he's gonna have decent value for your team as well. So I think he's a player that you should look for in the mid
Yeah.
rounds.
Yeah. So those are kind of all my breakout sleeper players. I just wanted to ask you so which rookies do you think are going to have the best fantasy years? LaMelo?
Yeah, if you have Russell Westbrook and you're not caring about percentages and stuff, LaMelo Ball is
Yeah.
gonna be your guy because he's gonna have all the counting stats.
Yeah.
He's just gonna suck percentage wise, and that's gonna tank his fantasy overall ranking.
Yeah, I think LaMelo, I think Obi Toppin's probably going to be decent. I think
Wiseman,
Wiseman, like basically the three rookie of the year
yeah,
candidates are going to have really good years. How well do you think Anthony Edwards is going to be in fantasy? How good do you think he's going to be in fantasy? Like, what do you see him averaging? Like 14, 15 maybe?
yeah, I think he's gonna have a really slow start.
Yeah,
I think maybe even like 12 points to start the
really.
season. Yeah, because man, they're just so deep now at that guard position. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have Russell, Rubio, Okogie, Culver, Beasley, and they have Anthony Edwards. Like all those guys are natural twos. Like obviously they're gonna play three as well, but they're natural twos and they're gonna get beat up at the three and they're gonna like struggle defensively
Yeah.
and they're just gonna get tired defensively. Like I think they're just gonna have a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why they're gonna be one of the worst teams in the league because they're gonna be struggling. And I think it's gonna be a big season for Cat and D'Angelo Russell. I
Mm-hmm.
just can't see Anthony Edwards averaging that much.
Yeah, I agree. That's why neither of us had him in our top three for rookie of the year.
Yeah,
Even though I don't think he's going to be like a
bad.
bust or anything like that. Or
Yeah,
it's just going to be circumstance and yeah,
I think he's gonna have a good sophomore year once they fix the roster around him a little
yeah,
more.
yeah. Speaking of sophomore years, Zion or Ja, who would you take? Fantasy.
Oh, I'm taking Jaw 100%. Like it's so much safer. It's like
Yeah.
taking like who would you take, Trey Young or Steph Curry? It's kind of like that question, right? Like we know Steph Curry's better. We know Zion's gonna be better if they're healthy. It's just that question mark and that if is so big that you're gonna lean with the more safer option.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, you get the assists and stuff
Yeah,
with Ja. Probably easier to build a team around than Zion. Maybe
yeah,
I don't know. It depends. But yeah,
depends. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so those are all my sleepers. You got any more?
No, those are all my sleepers. Another one a lot of Raptors fans are saying I'm not kind of agreeing on is OG Anunoby.
No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people on like the subreddits are saying he can average 17. I I would be surprised if he
I
did
would be
that.
shocked. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
he's gonna have a really big defensive year, like a really good defensive year.
yeah. I
And I
think I
think
think
he's obviously going to improve offensively, but I don't see 17. Like I'd be really happy with 15. Like really, really happy with 15.
yeah. I don't even see 15. I see around
Yeah,
like 12 to 14.
yeah,
14 I'll be happy with. But yeah, even if he takes only a 2 point jump, I think he
hmm
can still impact the game
yeah.
with
No, for sure.
rebounds,
Oh, I
assists,
think he's gonna have a
steals.
huge year. I think he's gonna have like by far his best year ever. But it's just not
Yeah,
gonna like reflect in fantasy.
yeah. But he is a big steals guy, so if you're high
Yeah,
on steals, go get
yeah,
him.
yeah. Anyway, so if that's it, I think that pretty much covers all of fantasy basketball. There's obviously some sleepers. It's so hard to predict this stuff, but I think I don't know. Like I feel pretty good about the breakout players that we talked about, and I mean like the busts pretty much just come down to staying away from 36-year-old point guards
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's I think that's pretty much good fantasy advice for this year.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
yeah,
with this year, you have to preface with the virus and the 2 week lockdowns and everything.
exactly. Yeah.
It's gonna be the hardest year, and it's gonna be the year that guy who always gets last place. Hey man, he might get lucky and he might get first place because his superstar never got
Mhm.
suspended or never got a 2 week
Yeah.
lockdown. So this is gonna
Yeah.
be the most surprising year. This is probably the year where Matt wins his first fantasy
Let's
championship.
go. And
So yeah, let's see
yeah,
it happen.
this is it's gonna be so much harder than like fantasy football. Like COVID ruins one game for you, right?
Yeah,
It's one game for 1 week.
yeah.
In basketball, you miss 2 weeks. That's like
That's two matchups.
nine games. Like
Yeah,
that's yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Anyway, we'll see. So next week we will be coming out with our season preview, playoff predictions
Predictions.
preview. Um, and then I guess after that it'll be one episode, and
Season.
then the
No,
season.
after that, it'll be just
It's
be the
just the
season.
season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's crazy. I can't wait to be talking about real basketball again.
yeah.
Um, but yeah. Anyway, so thank you for listening to our fantasy advice, and come back next week for a full playoff preview and a full season preview.